This episode of MoneyWeek Talks is brought to you by Lion Trust. Lion Trust is an investment manager that believes in the power of being actively different. Yeah. Investing can be fun, right? And once you build that confidence, I think it can also be fun.
I mean, yes, but you need to be balanced about it because it's all long term. Because it's fun when the market is going up. When the market is going down, it's not fun. About 40% of Brits think that women are less financially savvy. And that harms your confidence. That harms you when you try and make an investment. You challenge yourself, you doubt yourself way more. So that's firstly, we need to overcome that.
Hello, I'm Kalpana Fitzpatrick, digital editor of MoneyWeek. Welcome to another episode of MoneyWeek Talks. MoneyWeek's motto is to make it, keep it, spend it. And in each episode, we help you do just that with our top guests who come with incredible insight and views that will help you shape your finances. Whether you're looking for the latest trends, want to make sense of your finances, make more money, or just want to understand the world of investing better, then this is for you. In this episode, I have the pleasure of talking to Yana Shkrebenkova. Yana is the CEO of Revolut Trading, the investment arm of the Revolut finance app. But she's no stranger to the city, having held roles at Deutsche Bank, Accenture, and studied finance. But I hear her very first job was a restaurant hostess, so she certainly has worked her way through. Yana, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio today. And so Yana, I'm really interested in your story about how you got to where you are today. It's not often I get to talk to a woman CEO.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kalpana. It's a pleasure to be here. I guess my journey, as you mentioned, started from a bit unconventional for finance. So I did a lot of internships when I was younger. I started when I was back at school. I continued throughout university, one of which was a hostess at a restaurant. Didn't last for long, only worked for 2 days. It was really
hard?
Tough. It was really tough.
I imagine
really
it was.
Tough. But throughout those internships, I kind of migrated from various corporate jobs, worked a bit in HR department, worked a bit in logistics and international relations. But one of the final placements was within the finance department. And that's where I realized that it's so complex. I'm so curious. I should study that more. I should go into that area. So that's where my studies in finance started. I did a degree in Exeter University. I did bachelor's there. I did master's there. And my first job, as you rightly said, was with Deutsche Bank. And funny enough, after my finance and investment degree, my first couple of days at Deutsche, it felt like people were speaking a different language to me.
Wow.
And it just made me realize that reality is a bit different from what you study academically. From Deutsche, I moved on to consulting. I worked for big investment banks. I helped them shape their product strategy, trading strategies. And one of my final projects was with Goldman Sachs. I worked there for a couple of years with a fantastic team building trading products. And then, yes, Revolut approached me and the rest is history. So they invited me to be their UK head of wealth and trading business and the CEO of the firm.
That's great. It's interesting. Yeah. And actually, what you're saying about, how people, when you first joined at Deutsche, and it felt like everyone was speaking a totally different language. That's actually quite an interesting point, because one of the things about finance is that people just say it is a different world, it's a bubble, it's not our bubble. But actually, what's so good about a podcast like this is actually we can open that up to the world, because, finance is such an important subject for everyone to get to grips with.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's said, it was eye-opening, because you study really complicated formulas, really options pricing models and things like that. And then you go to real world, and firstly, you don't know how mortgages work, let alone you understand what real traders are saying. So it was a journey on its own throughout my career, learning every day.
I feel like it's unnecessarily complicated sometimes.
Exactly.
And we want to make that uncomplicated for people.
Exactly.
So many people will know Revolut as a banking app, and probably their first experience, in fact, like myself, is they used it when they're traveling because of the foreign exchange fees, etc. So, but Revolut has really grown since, and it's doing a lot more. And so one of its key features is now that it lets you trade. Tell me a bit more about Revolut Trading and how it fits into the overall Revolut family.
Sure. I think for Revolut, the mission was always simplify all things money. And it started with, as you rightly mentioned, with a simple idea: let's solve the problem of really expensive FX rates and transfers. And it really quickly evolved into, let's look around. The financial system has a lot more problems to solve, and let's work on that. Let's make our customers happier. Let's make sure that they get the best experience. And obviously one of those problems is accessibility of the financial markets, which is our business is solving. And so it wasn't just, to be fair, we're not a charity. It's not just to solve the problems for the customers, but it's also a great business opportunity for us. We started in 2018, and now we have around 6.5 million customers globally. We operate across 45 markets globally, just the trading arm of Revolut. And it's a great revenue for us as well. So it's a mutually beneficial opportunity, and very excited about it, forming a big part of our strategy as a company overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a fintech, I guess you can do things faster and move differently. How are fintechs like Revolut changing people's attitudes towards investing and essentially making it, as you say, more accessible for people?
Very good question. I think if we take a step back, what actually made investing inaccessible? So there are things like financial barriers, physical barriers, education, knowledge, transparency. So from financial side of things, the obvious thing, we started defining these products from scratch. And naturally, we looked at the cost and we looked at the pricing and we looked at the fee structures. And for us, they were bizarre. They were like, we can charge so much less and we can still be super profitable and be a successful business without overcharging customers. So fee structures are different from all the I can't speak for all, but for the majority of neo brokers. So that made it more accessible. Another part of the financial side is that we allowed to fractionalize your investment. So previously, if you wanted to buy a share in Berkshire Hathaway or another company, you would be paying, I don't know, £1,000 for a share. However, now you can buy £5 worth of a share and you still become a shareholder and you still experience the same ups and downs of the market as anyone else. So that was a big step that together with other brokers we've made, and that's what democratized investments. The other bit is general accessibility. Right now, you can open your phone, you can download an app, you can open an account in minutes or even seconds. You can execute a trade real time if the market is open, and it might take a bit longer if it's not. But essentially, you get to what you want much quicker with a better user experience, and that's something, again, as an industry we'll work on. And the final bit is about transparency. Again, because we build things from scratch, we think through every detail from scratch, and therefore we try and share that with our customers. We share how the products work, we share how the fee structures again work, and things like that. And I think that brings more trust for the retail investors and essentially helps them to make that first trade or be interested in investing.
It's really interesting what you're saying about overcoming the barriers, and actually most people don't want to do anything at the moment unless they can do it on their phone, on an app and at speed. So that's really important. But trust is, the reason I touched on that is because when I've asked people, why don't you invest? And I get some really surprising answers. I've heard people say to me things like, well, they're going to steal all my money. And that's quite shocking. And that's why I was asking about trust, because actually whatever you're doing when it comes to investing, if it's not on the high street, then that big question mark immediately comes across to people. It's like, who are they? Can I trust them? So that's it's an interesting point that you're making about trust and accessibility when it comes to investing. So there's been a lot of talk from the government and regulators lately about not enough people investing. And actually some of the things that you've talked about is not understanding it as well. There's been a lot of talk from the government about getting more people to invest. So it's been highly encouraged. So one of the things that obviously we talked about earlier is barriers, is education. How is Revolut helping educate people about investing?
Education is, again, it's a big topic in the industry. Government, regulators, every firm is talking about it, which is amazing. So that's the first step. It's not necessarily for the fintechs to solve the full problem. It needs to start at schools, it needs to start at universities. As I said, some of the programs I studied were not necessarily relevant to the real world.
Yeah.
So we should start there, and I want to make that point. As a fintech, what we're trying to do is design the products with the user in mind So with the user experience, what user wants to achieve, what users understand and don't understand, we continuously monitor whenever we roll out a new feature or a new product. We see how users are interacting with it. And if we see a lot of questions from them, how do I do that? What is this? Then the product is not great. Then it's not simple enough. Then it's not smart enough. So we need to bring explainability. We bring a lot of information for our customers, but not in the way that overwhelms them. That's another thing. So what I'm seeing right now in other companies or in the industry overall, people are trying to overload customers with a lot of information, and you should invest in this, look at this. But actually keep it simple. Give enough information, give enough tools. And if people want to go deeper, allow them to go deeper. But just to build out that narrative in their head, understand and have confidence to make these decisions. So that's what we're trying to do through the design. The other initiative we have, we work on educational material. So I personally write some of the educational courses, which we're soon to release to everyone. And removing the jargon, speaking the same language, and having tangible examples from real life, how things work in the financial markets, but also giving a balanced view of it. So it's not all ups and ups, it's sometimes downs, and you just need to understand how it works, and then you make a decision. And we partner with educational, or you probably have seen, we've partnered with Female Invest, and we want to promote more people coming into the industry, understanding how things work, and then making a choice of where and how to invest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you made the point about financial education having to start at school, which we have heard some news about, which will happen soon in 2028. How do you feel about that? Do you think it will be enough? And what barriers do you expect to see in this?
I feel that everyone should know how basic finances work, and this is the right step towards that. I didn't have that at school, and as an adult, when it got to the point when I was getting a mortgage, I didn't understand how things work, and I work in finance. So this tells you a lot. So the younger you start understanding things, the more information you have, the better decisions you make in the future. What we see right now is that younger investors on our platform, so Gen Z, for example, they're much more advanced and much more skillful in how the markets operate. It's very interesting to observe. We watch the behavior, we watch how people trade, and we can see that. And this is the same. So if you start at school and you start promoting financial literacy as early as possible, when they finish school, finish universities, a lot of problems that exist right now might not exist.
I understand what you're saying, and actually most people learn how to leave school with a lot of debt, and that's all they ever know. But for me, it's also about having some sort of level of education so that when you do go out into the world and you have that confidence to ask the right questions, or you know where to go and seek the right help, so you are making the right decisions when it comes to mortgages or investing, your pensions. Exactly. And I do hear so many horror stories of people not having done the right thing or just didn't know. So hopefully financial education will help that. But there's still a lot of work to be done, I think, when it comes to that.
And I think in investing, you can often see things like a lot of ads, a lot of materials online. And sometimes they sound too good to be true. And most likely they're not true. And that's where education steps in as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So talking about barriers, one big demographic I feel is women. So I know Revolut's recently done some research around this. What do you think the barriers are for women when it comes to investing in particular? Because they don't invest as much, but when they do it, I will add, they do it well.
That's true. So as you said, when women are given an opportunity and the right tools, they actually outperform male investors quite often. It's not about an ability, it's about an opportunity. Our research that you mentioned, what is shown is actually about 40% of Brits think that women are less financially savvy. And that harms your confidence. That harms you when you try and make an investment. You challenge yourself, you doubt yourself way more. So that's firstly, we need to overcome that. Because the facts are there that women are able and sometimes outperform male investors. So, so I think we need to build our confidence. We need to continue these conversations. We need to empower women around us. And we're on the right journey. What we're seeing, again, on the platform, I recently looked at the numbers. We are seeing increased numbers of female users. So the growth among female users is actually higher than men, which is amazing. These are all the efforts that we're collectively doing to bring more women on this journey. Yeah. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. That's really interesting to hear. As for me, I would say there hasn't been a role model. So it's actually really nice to speak to someone like you who actually is a role model for women who don't have to be working in finance but can look after their finances via investing, because it's an important part of it. But I don't think I had a role model. I couldn't see anyone. I mean, my dad was my role model, which was perfect, I know. But who do we listen to? Who do we talk to? Have you had a role model when it comes to investing or getting into finance generally even?
I think, my rule is not to have a role model that I don't know personally. Okay. So it will be my mom and dad as well. Dad was an entrepreneur, so taught me a lot about how money and the business works. My mom is a successful businesswoman as well, who taught me independence, who taught me that you need to work if you want to have a fantastic life ahead of you. It's not just for the money, it's for your brain development even. It's a great thing to do. So both of them taught me a lot of things. But in terms of within the industry, I always followed big leaders, big CEOs or investors or innovators. And what I'm trying to get from all of them, I'm trying to see their approach, I'm trying to understand their personality, but it's really hard when you don't know them personally. So it's just kind of capturing the traits that you like in some of them and try and implement them within yourself and maintain the balance. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting what you're saying about your parents, because it actually loops back to financial education. It does start at home. For me, it started with my dad talking about interest rates, etc. But like your mum, my mum was always be independent. If you want something, go and get it. No one's going to get it for you.
Exactly.
And you should never expect anyone to get it for you.
Exactly.
So, but luckily she also told me never be in debt with anyone. So that's great as well. And
same.
But that's actually a really important message, is that sometimes people just say, well, I don't know enough about money, so I can't comfortably talk about it. But actually it's a really important conversation, and you don't realise just how much of an influence you can have on people around you.
Exactly. So I'm having a lot of these conversations with my friends, not necessarily about investing, but in general, look at your finances, think about it. And I have a few people who's now successfully investing and very happy with their life choices right now.
Good. That's good to hear as well.
Yeah.
And actually that topic of talking to friends about money, it's always a taboo. Money is a taboo subject, and there's always this fear that you're going to get chucked off dinner table, right? So, but actually I do find that my friends will openly start asking me questions, so that conversation is starting to open up. But I always say we are still so far away from it being just the norm on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. And to be fair, I think it's a fairly common topic among men. So they will talk about what they've invested to and how it's performing. But among women, it's becoming a popular topic. So me and my friends talk quite a bit about what's exciting going on in the market, and it's interesting.
It's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women out there, and people generally actually quite hesitant about investing. What would you say are some of your tips for people who are a little bit nervous about taking their first steps into investing? Because I do feel like with investing, you have to start small, and you just have to start. There's loads of excuses. I don't have enough money, or I'd say myths, not excuses. I don't have enough money, and they don't trust the companies. They don't know how it works. They feel like it's just a game in the city. It's gambling. That's the one that I hate hearing about. So it's not gambling. So what's your advice to people who are a little bit nervous?
I think there is a misconception in the market, and I have theories of where it came from, but in general, people have this distance between this is my investment and this is the economy. Mm-hmm. And they don't see the relationship between the businesses, let's talk about UK, businesses in the UK performing well, meaning the economy is growing, meaning that everything around them is getting better eventually. So people don't have that connection in their minds. So when they invest in something, it's something obscure, it's something that not tangible enough. And that's what drives some of that confidence. So my advice, contrary to quite often I would hear that, for example, investing in ETFs is the great first step. I quite often to my friends say, just you buy coffee every day. Why don't you buy, shares in a coffee company for the same price? Yeah. You spend £5 on the coffee, buy £5 worth of the company, like you be a shareholder. Once you have that one individual investment in your portfolio and you start watching it, all of a sudden you understand how news impact the market, how sentiment impacts the market, how certain events and inflation and other macroeconomics are impacting your investment. Even though it's £5, you still get the same experience. You see ups and downs. You see dividends being paid. What is a dividend? When you start, you don't know. So all of that mechanics you can learn fairly quickly by just starting very small. Then let's say you invest in a couple of more small companies, small investments, and then you see how diversification works. Something goes down, something goes up. And sometimes it's hard to explain, but then you be curious, understand why. And that's when the next step comes. It was like, well, now I understand more or less what's going on. Maybe an ETF is the right one because it's a diversified basket of these shares. And you go and try and select the right one for you. I think with ETFs as well, one of my friends actually raised it to me. She said, everyone's saying ETFs. I went on the platform and I see 2,000 ETFs. I was like, exactly.
It's off-putting.
Choose a company that you know something about, that you use every day. You can, I don't know, you can buy Crocs or something like that. So,
yeah. And I like how you're relating it to your everyday experience. And that's actually really important as well, is getting people to understand that, it doesn't have to be an ETF route. It's something that a brand that you know, a brand that you actually personally invest in. I always feel that as a consumer, you know which brands that you would want to happily support in one way or another, buy a share in it. I wish I'd bought those Apple shares years ago. I'm still saying that.
Exactly.
And but yeah, no, it's a really good way of thinking of it, and it's the best way to learn actually is just to get started. I mean, I personally would say to people, if you're going to start investing, just start small, be comfortable with it, learn how it works, and then you grow into it. But it's that important lesson and that important step. You have to take it, and you should. It's an important way of building wealth as well. One thing that women in particular, and I'm focusing on the women because coming from your research as well, what comes across to me is a lot of women say they feel patronised about this as well. How can we change that? I would say women have had so many barriers put up against them. It was only 50 years ago they could get a mortgage, for example, which isn't that long ago.
Exactly.
Couldn't vote 100 years ago. So they have actually had a lot of barriers, and investing has been a barrier. But I feel like women do say, actually, we're just being patronised now. What would you say to that? And do you agree?
I see where they're coming from, because the whole financial industry was designed and defined without women at the table defining it, and without women in mind as a user at the end of it. So yes, I understand why people feel overwhelmed or patronized into all of a sudden participating in it. But as you rightly said, 50 years ago, it's not even the mortgage that the woman couldn't get. It was opening an account without your father's or husband's consent. How bizarre is that?
It's crazy.
Concorde flew before that.
Wow.
Like, just put it in perspective.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
It's unbelievable, actually.
Yes.
It really is.
And I understand the feeling. My message would be that you don't have to explain your life choices to anyone. You don't have to fill someone's expectations for you to invest or not invest. But you do deserve an opportunity, and the opportunity and the access to the tools that will help you to grow your wealth. And growing wealth is very important for independence and for confidence. And that brings us back to confidence being a big gap for women. Having that will make you more confident, will make all of us more confident. And I mean, even from the economics perspective, women live longer. Women are becoming, I think in the next couple of years, we will hold more than 50% of global wealth. Yeah. So we're becoming a driving power. All we need is just a bit of confidence It's actually a really important time. Because my next question was actually going to be, we're saying people need to get started with investing, but why? What are the critical reasons? And it actually, you just touched upon them. It's just a fact for women in particular, we are living longer. So we are going to need more wealth to see us through. Exactly.
And we're inheriting more, so we are going to have more wealth as well. Yeah. And the importance of investing, therefore, is obviously building that wealth and maintaining that wealth and building security. But as you say, it starts with confidence, and it has to start somewhere.
Exactly.
So also, it's the myths as well. How do we overcome some of these myths? Because I find that very rarely things change. So it's the particular, I need a lot of money to invest. How do people not just women, but anyone, how much do you realistically need to invest? That you would say is a meaningful amount. You said £5 in a coffee chain, for example. Is that actually enough?
I think everyone should choose the amount that suits their finances. But I think the point that we touched on earlier is that the amount starts from £1. Previously, it would start with 1,000 or 100, which some people cannot afford. But right now, it can start tiny and small. The right amounts are usually determined based on your income, based on your expenditures. So it's really hard to give you an actual amount. But usually, you will put aside a pot for emergencies and some general spendings and things like that. And then you'll have a pot that you are comfortably can invest. And comfortably means that you accept the risk that you might get less than you invested. You might get more, hopefully, but you should accept that. So don't invest if you can't afford it. Don't borrow money to invest in something that you have a crazy idea about. Always think about your personal affordability and accountability. So that would be have a look at your finances. How much can you afford? And go with that. And the more you look at your investments, the more you understand it, the more comfortable you will be to put more. And you reassess that. You look at your budgets once a year, once in 5 years, and think, actually, I can invest more. Closer to your retirement, maybe you can invest more. So it depends on the life stage as well. So hard to have a blank answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one of the things you should probably do is also think about building some sort of emergency buffer.
Exactly.
So you are in a comfortable position with your short-term holdings and then invest for the long term. Is that right? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the world is super unpredictable. Job market is unpredictable. And you should have, 3-6 salaries put aside in case something happens personally or at work that will make sure that you don't step into debt after that you don't feel more stressed about that.
Yeah.
So, and brings back to the comfortable. So be comfortable so that you can solve the problems and move on rather than stress out and get into distress.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds great for people who are starting out, and Revolut makes that simple, easy. As we said earlier, you tap on an app, in a few minutes you've got an account. There is that temptation to look at it too much when it comes to investing.
True.
But what about experienced investors? How do you target them? How are you different? How are you attractive compared to other platforms?
So the way we develop products, we look at the user base in general, and then we have segments within that. So one of those segments is advanced investors, we call them. And we have a separate team that looks specifically into the behavior of those, into the needs of those, and everything's designed with the user in mind, so all the experiences. So advanced investors or traders sometimes prefer web platforms and tools so that they can see more analytics, do more complicated analysis, and we have these products. The more advanced you are, you potentially can step into more complex products. It's something that we're rolling out in the UK, and some of them are already available in other locations. So it's kind of testing out what customers actually want. Some of them, we speak to them all the time, so we get the feedback. They ask about certain types of products. Let's build it, let's share it. People are asking for it. And we adjust, even the fee structures are adjusted based on how the customers interact with us. For advanced investors, there is a different fee structure that's more applicable to them who trade more frequently, or if you trade more in volume. So just having two different segments. But the user interface you see in the app doesn't really differ, because the whole point is to make it simple and smart. And it doesn't matter whether you're just beginning your journey or you've been doing it for 10 years. It's that opportunity of clicking into it and diving deeper into understanding where the analyst ratings are coming from, or some of the research recommendations. You can click into it and see some of the ratios. You can see more technical things behind it. So it's not necessarily a different product. It's building the product that's useful for everyone and have some features which are available to more advanced users.
Yeah, no, that makes good sense. So the app also gives you access to a number of investments types, including crypto. So anyone starting out, in fact, I can't remember, so many people say to me, I invest, and then they'll say, oh, I invest in crypto. Mm-hmm. What is your advice for anyone that's just starting out and are looking at crypto as their first investment?
I would say, again, it's probably similar to what I've just said about stock market. It's generally understanding the mechanics, try and understand it, what is happening there, and then don't invest a lot at the beginning. Just try, see if that's the right product for you. It's a high risk investment, obviously. So, well, obviously for us, learn that it's a high risk investment, understand why is it high risk, what's behind it, and then if you think it's the right thing for you, you can proceed. And our job is not to steer you towards one or another product. Our job is to give you enough information, enough risk information, balanced information for you to be able to make that decision. So yeah, I mean, if people decide that crypto is the right thing for them,
if they want to do it,
they can do it.
You're helping them make an informed decision, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, it is a very popular way for a lot of people to start investing, but I will always say to people, just have your ISA in place first. Personally, that's what I would say. So what was your first experience of investing?
Good question. I think actually when I got my first paycheck, because parts of it went to pension fund. So that's the investment. So a lot of us are investors without knowing it.
We forget that, don't we?
Exactly.
That if you have a pension, you're already investing.
Exactly.
And that's a really important message as well, because people just don't realise it. So anyone who is nervous probably shouldn't be, because you're already doing it.
This is sometimes an advice that I give to some of my other friends is have a look at your pension. Because what you will see, the pensions will have different strategies, different things they buy. But look into it. It's your money. It's interesting as well.
Yeah.
So have a look. And all of a sudden, it gives you some confidence as well. Some part of your salary goes into investment every month, regardless of the time at the market, regardless of the conditions of the market. You invest monthly. And actually, it's growing over time, hopefully. Again, unpredictable market is right now. But that's the first investment that a lot of people do without knowing. The other bit is I worked for a lot of corporates, and there is equities, incentives and bonuses. So we get an equity in the company we work for, which also makes it very tangible, where you understand how your contribution contributes to the company performance, how company performance translates into share value, and you can see it on your balance sheet. So it's a useful lesson as well. I worked in a lot of investment banks, and I was restricted from trading individual stocks, so I didn't do that. But right now, I'm actually super excited about it. So I started doing that as soon as the restrictions were lifted of me.
Yeah.
And
investing can be fun, right? And once you build that confidence, I think it can also be fun.
I mean, yes, but you need to be balanced about it, because it's all long term. Because it's fun when the market is going up. When the market is going down, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And sitting there and having patience and not selling when unnecessarily is also one of the things you need to learn.
Yeah.
Because being excited about something great is easy. But for me, as I said, it's an educational process. Even for me, right now, when I watch the market and different events impacting market in the most unexpected ways, and I get nervous looking at my portfolio, I was like, okay, just close the app and this is fine.
Yeah. But you've touched on a really important point there, because people do get nervous when things don't go in the right direction. And people also start taking their money out in a panic, but they've not been in that investment for long enough to even do that. And yeah, so what's your sort of advice to people in terms of when the market goes down, don't panic? What would you normally say to people? And what do you sort of see as well? Do you see that in your data?
So actually interesting, in our data from this year, from the tariffs, when the market was very volatile, we didn't see a sell-off. A lot of our users actually bought the dip. And actually, interestingly, within that data, women were, I think, 50% less likely to sell off at a loss. So also shows you that, again, it's not the ability, it's the opportunity. Women are doing well in terms of strategies. The way I also look at it is people are starting investing early. So about 50-60% of our customer base is millennials, and about 30-40% is Gen Z, and the rest is the rest. But people start investing younger, and therefore they understand the market a bit better. And therefore, when it gets volatile, they see opportunities and not necessarily panic, which is also refreshing to see. So yeah, my advice is keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
And I guess we touched on the pension bit, where your pension invests every month, regardless of where the market is. And long term, after 30 years, the trend is growing. So you can look into your pension and see what's going on there, because your pension provider didn't sit there and wait and sold everything at the same time. So there are things you can learn on your own money.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of experts always say to me is if you are losing sleep overnight, then you're probably taking a bit too much risk. So you need to be investing in a way that you're actually very comfortable with as well. So that's good to see as well. Exactly. Good to see there was no knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah, and I think it's coming back to the point where we've spoken about being comfortable and having money aside for investing.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I mean, is that you're not distressed. You can afford to sit down and look at it, and it should be fine. And I think someone, I want to say Warren Buffett, but don't quote this.
He comes up a lot in our conversations.
He comes up a lot, but one of the big investors, he said the hardest thing is to sit there and do nothing in investing. And I attribute it to him because he's done some really good investments 30, 40, 50 years ago, and he sat on them. So there are some examples from the industry that this strategy works.
Yeah, be patient really. So you really do have to be.
Exactly.
What would you say to your younger self when it comes to investing and managing money generally?
I would say be curious, which I think I followed that throughout my life. But be curious, learn, and start. Like, start small. Unfortunately, when I was very young, platforms like Revolut or neobrokers didn't exist. To place a trade, you probably need to go for lunch with a broker, and they needed to go to stock exchange. But right now, with all these tools, if they were available back then, I'll just say start.
Yeah.
Start small.
Just
like as a student, as I said, you buy a coffee instead of a coffee. Buy some shares and watch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. What is your ambition for Revolut Trading? You've talked earlier about growth and how it's evolving. What is you as CEO? What is your ambition, and what would you like to see?
I would say our ambition is to build the best investment platform in the world, obviously, but more down to earth is more continue redefining it, simplifying, making it smarter, making it faster, and just that will drive the business where it needs to be as it's done.
And get everyone into investing.
10 years.
Get everyone investing.
Well, investing is not for everyone.
That is actually a good point. Can you enhance? Say a bit more about that.
Get access. Make sure that we give access to those that want to invest and give them the tools that they need. If a person thinks it's the right thing for them, we're there for them. So let's make it accessible to everyone, but it's up to the person whether it's the right thing to do.
Determine whether it's the right thing for you.
Exactly.
Would you say there was a situation where someone probably shouldn't invest?
I think it depends on the financial situation, and it brings back to how do you look at your finances?
Yeah.
I think investing in tiny amounts is probably okay for everyone, but if you're in difficult situation in your life, maybe take a step back and focus on things that are important and fix those before you go into the market, which can just add stress to your life. But in general, small amounts, sensible strategies, choosing credible institutions to partner with, so whether it's neobrokers or incumbent brokers, make sure that you do your research and you put your money somewhere where they're safe, and that should be, it's good.
Yeah, it all comes down to being comfortable and confident.
Exactly. I mean, nobody asks us about the pension. So when our pension goes into ETFs, nobody says, it's like, do you think that's the right product for you?
No, this is the thing about pension. Like, as you say, like everyone's investing if they've got a pension, but a lot of people really don't see that as the same thing. Some people don't even realise that their pension is being invested. So that comes as a nice surprise, I hope. But it's an important thing to consider, and so anyone that is nervous really should think about that. Yes, like you say, go and look at your pension, see how it's invested, maybe take the opportunity to learn about that as well, and then do some of your own.
Exactly.
When it comes to your other money as well. Interesting conversation. I always like to end an episode with some good fun questions. Sure. Well, it's all been fun, as you know. So I'll just get rolling with these. Sure. So. If I gave you £5,000 now, what would you do with it?
£5,000. I will probably allocate it if I still have my ISA allowance. That's actually a good question. I would put it in stocks and shares ISA because in my position, I can afford to put £5,000 there, and I don't have any immediate spendings that are due. I can put it there for long term and then reconsider in a couple of years and think if I want to do anything different with it.
Nice. Makes good sense. Your life is about to become a movie. Who would play you?
Oof.
I love this question.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Nice.
Everyone says that, well, it used to say that we look a bit alike, and the character-wise, outside of work, we're very similar, so probably her.
Great. Revolut Trading CEO, Jennifer Lawrence. Sounds great, doesn't it? I can't wait for these movies to come out.
You need a bit of crazy personality to be there, so yeah.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I asked my question since I was 5, and I'm always split between the two. Be able to control time and read people's minds. So I think controlling time is probably a more sensible one because you don't necessarily always want to know what people think. It becomes overwhelming.
That could be dangerous. That could be dangerous, right?
So maybe control time.
I like the idea of being able to control time. It just goes by so fast. This recording's gone by so fast.
Exactly.
Put a bit of pause and enjoy the moment.
Exactly.
Well, thank
Time
you
is
so
flying.
much. That's absolutely great. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.